comic episode of Games My Mom Found. I am Mike Albertin, and who is with me tonight?
Stefan JD.
Stuart Hughes.
I couldn't think of anything either to say for this one.
Mark, Stuart Hughes.
Okay, that was really good. Absolutely.
Dog of Wisdom.
What we're doing.
Magic.
Is the Dog of Wisdom meme still relevant enough to reference that?
No, I don't think so.
I love that video. Bark.
And it might not. And it might not be by the time people hear this either. So
that is good wisdom.
Stu, since this was actually your pick or something, why don't you introduce what we're going to be talking about? The strangest comic, one of the strangest comics we've done in this show. Yeah,
kind of an odd one because it was a comic episode that I actually picked. Because I ran into this like a couple of years ago and I was super interested in it. And it's the Evan Dorkin, Jill Thompson series, Beasts of Burden. And it's a very short-lived series that, I mean, it's still going, but it's a like, there's only a couple issues of it. It's a very short series, essentially about a bunch of dogs who have to protect their neighborhood from evil.
Yeah. Jill Thompson, the reason I guess it doesn't come out often is because Jill Thompson's like always booked to do something. And I guess she got her start working on Sandman. So
yeah, she did. Kind of a weird connection to.
Yeah.
Is that the first comic episode you guys did?
Yeah. It was like 3 or 4, Mike. I don't know.
It was close.
Like that, yeah. It's not that far off.
Mm-hmm.
And there's about only 22 issues of this book. We're not talking about all 22 because we're not going to do that.
We're specifically going to talk about volume. I think it's volume 4, issue 1 through. It's essentially like the second. It's like the second stories. It's the first real stories.
The way this book works, it came out in 2003 and it had an issue, or had 3 issues: 2003, 2004, 2005. Had a random issue in 2006, and then it had 4 issues that actually have numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, which is what we're going to be talking about today in 2009. And then it doesn't do any after 2009. They waited almost another year, did 1 issue in 2010. Like, this is the kind of story just comes off and on. Like, there's not even the 4 issues we're talking about aren't really one cohesive story. They're kind of each issue is a story.
Well, initially it was like a little like section in some Dark Horse books. Like, it was just just a random story in there. Like, I want to say the first one was in like the Dark Horse Book of Hauntings way back in 2003, and I think it was like a passion project.
Yeah, they were anthology series, and then this one just kind of mixed in with it. Is what I believe happened. Yeah,
this is the first. What we're talking about specifically is like the first standalone comics that they did for this series.
Mm-hmm.
And they went back to being like some like anthology series and like more Dark Horse Presents books, and then they had another run on their own. And I think I want to say in like 2010 they collected a bunch of them, made a book out of it, and then they did the same thing last year.
Mm-hmm. And then something you surprised us with, Stu, is they did a crossover one shot with Hellboy. Apparently.
Yeah, yeah, it's really. I actually went through and I read a bunch of these, so I was the Hellboy one.
I was just gonna say Evan Dorkin, the writer. I had never heard of this guy before, but I looked him up, and apparently he worked on Superman the animated series.
Yes, he also did Milk and Cheese, which is kind of like a smaller comic that has I don't want to say it has a cult following because it's not like a cult thing. It's just like a little tiny series that had like a short-lived animated series that some people are really into.
Huh.
It's a smaller series, but there was definitely a point in time I remember very clearly where I saw like the Milk and Cheese character is literally like a milk carton and a block of cheese, and they have like the giant like anime eyebrows. I remember seeing them like all over the place for a little while. So Evan Dorkin has a little bit of a following in his own right.
Okay.
Oh, nice.
It wasn't until I'd never even heard of this book. Didn't even know it existed until you were like, hey, we should read it. So I'm like, what? Well, so for those that don't know, which is everyone that downloaded this episode, most likely, Beasts of Burden is about a bunch of dogs and cats. Like, we're reading Beasts of Burden, Chapter 1, The Gathering Storm, which is about a bunch of dogs and cats that are like, one, they can talk and they can understand each other, and humans can hear them too. They have powers. Like, some some can do spells, but they're all very intelligent. they're all like, they understand there's weird things that go on in this world, and they're aware of it.
It's kind of like if Buffy the Vampire Slayer, if the Scooby Gang was a bunch of dogs, but everybody else was still normal.
That is a great example.
Yeah. Like, imagine if the entire Scooby Gang was dogs and they still had to save. It's not Point Place. Point Place is a Sad 70s show. They still had to save their little town and close the hell mouth. But everybody else was just humans and they kind of like ignored them.
I should know what town it's in, but I can't remember all of a sudden. Sunnyvale.
Sunnyvale, yeah.
Okay.
And then
that's a real place
takes place in Burden Hill, which is a great name for like a horror town.
It kind of feels like it's the spiritual turbulence town, like Silent Hill. Just random crazy shit's always happening.
I like to think that this series could take place like in Night Vale and fit perfectly.
Oh, I almost forgot. I do want to give a quick warning. We are going to get into some very, very, very dark subjects in this little book about there's going to be some. We'll warn you when we get to that issue, but there's some dark ass shit that deal with animal killing. Let's just say that. We'll warn you before we go into it.
Despite this being like, that's kind of what I love about this series. Is despite the fact that it's dogs and it's like presented in a very fun way, it is like it's very dark and it's very, I wouldn't say it's like serious so much as it's like it's just dark and it has these really like difficult themes. Like it doesn't stray away from anything. It's a dog hunt there for you.
Very out there.
It starts off with like the first couple pages where you have a bunch of dogs going over to some other dog's house and sitting there and they're playing in the yard and they're talking and it doesn't feel, it feels very normal, and all of a sudden this asshole pug gets hit in the head by a frog. I like the pug, but he's an asshole.
It starts like Homeward Bound, but it's like it's like it could be an opening to like the Homeward Bound TV series.
Could literally be a continuation of that, just going paranormal.
Yeah. Just immediately thousands of thousands of frogs start raining from the sky.
I mean, it didn't come off that weird to me. Even when the frogs start eating the other frogs to get bigger, it was a little strange, but it didn't really hit me yet. Like, I'm like, okay, this isn't so bad. You have one of the dogs like, cannibal frogs, cool.
I like the frog says
poor
when
dog.
it starts raining, he's like, looks like Stupid's back in season.
Yeah.
There's some funny ass lines in this book. Like I was laughing, early on before I was crying, but like I like it. Like you have one dog, Ace, which apparently must have been from one of the other books that I haven't read, where he's chained up in a doghouse because something happened.
Yeah. So I picked this series not realizing that because I figured it'd be hard to like do the originals just because we'd have to like go like find the other books and find the like little their section of them. So probably should have told you this before. But we don't talk to each other before we do these. No. So background there, Ace is actually a werewolf. He was bitten by a werewolf, and so he's chained up because he got hurt. But now he has strong werewolf powers.
That makes sense.
He's the Oz of this group.
Yeah, that's the thing too, is that these dogs all do magic, and like they have elder dogs that they learned the magic from, which is kind of crazy.
I love the world. It's like it's really creative. I love the little world they have where they have these dogs that like they're older and they know everything. They call them the wise dogs. But it's not so much like a name as like it's like like an official title. Like you train for years to become a wise dog. But everything's still told through this like
really cool. And then you have you have two different sets. They ran off and went to the wise. It's cool. Like you have the dogs all bowing to the wise dog, and you have cats that are smartasses because
it's all told from the viewpoint of a dog. So the dog, like cats are like antagonistic, and like rats and other animals are just assholes to them.
It works. Like I did like when they go to Wise Dog, we were just talking about an Ace, and they tell them what's happening, and when all the toads are gone, and one of the dumb dogs ran after the toads, and he's missing. That didn't hit that. I'm like, okay, he ran in the woods, he'll be fine.
It still like hasn't gotten dark yet.
No, not yet.
No, that same, like the next page, they show them going into the woods. They're looking for Pee Wee. Then they find Pee Wee's collar all ripped up with his little, his little name tag on there. And they're like, they start realizing something's not all right. Something got Pee Wee.
Yeah, that took me by surprise. I did not expect that to just suddenly happen in this first issue. I'm like, what? This dog's dead?
Even then, you're like, okay, like something got Pee Wee, but it just tore up his collar and he's fine. Like,
I don't think he was dead. And then they have the page with they drew a deer's head.
Oh yeah. And they don't even comment on it. It's like a third of a page.
No, just panel. Just a panel.
Yeah. Just a third of a panel, and it's just a deer head.
That animal.
And it's just them like seeing it and being like, uh-oh. They don't even say anything. They just look at it and they look worried.
Mm-hmm.
And like the panel right before this one is like them trying to walk over stones, and like the pug is having trouble because his legs are so short. It's like I love how they mix like fun and dark so much.
Mm-hmm.
So after you see I thought it was interesting how they have the one of the dogs, the Doberman Pinscher, is hiding in a tree log because Pee Wee's missing, and then Fluffy, one of the cats, got eaten by something. You still don't even know what ate them. You have no idea what's happened.
Okay.
So there's a after your head.
Should we say
for the third time's charm?
Real quick for our audience, we'll just put this in case it sounds weird. Had some technical difficulties, but we're good now.
Yep.
In case the audio suddenly sounds weird and it doesn't make sense, this part will be there to explain why.
So I thought it was funny how they have the Doberman Pinscher, who is normally a dog that you would see as a more fiercer dog, is hiding in a log because one of the cats got eaten. Yeah, which is not probably that far off from the truth. But he's hiding in the log because something ate one of the cats named Fluffy. And you don't see it. It's kind of like a horror movie. You just see a leg or a shadow. The cat is scared, and then that's the end of that.
Yeah, and it even does the full horror movie thing where they're like walking through the woods, and one of the main cats, like the cat that's actually in with the dogs, who's named Orphan, is like talking to the other cat. Is like, Fluffy, and turns around. Fluffy's just gone.
Oh yeah, that's right.
It does a good job of it. And as you have the rest of the group trudging through the woods, and they come out, and one of the wise dog, which is one that kind of has magic powers, goes, "Great dog in heaven," and that's the end of the page. And then when you go to the next page, you finally see the big villain, the thing that they've been chasing after. And here, I'm just gonna read the line that they have. It's a frog, a giant frog, a mother humping big ass giant frog. It's a giant frog, by the way.
Yeah, I love the art for this comic too, because it's like watercolor.
Yeah,
it's just, I don't know, it looks like
good.
Yeah, it's like it looks a little like older and more traditional, but it's just, I don't know, it just, those colors are really like vibrant, the shadows are really cool. So it's like everything about it is like it should be used in a fun way, but it's tackling this like occult scenario, and it's a great like disparity. This giant frog.
Yeah, it absolutely fits the story. It's almost like a children's book in a way too, like one you'd pick up in the 90s or something.
You know what I kept thinking of, because I ran across this comic a couple years ago. I think I saw some images of it on Facebook, which I'm sure other people might have had the same experience. There was like a couple threads going around of like one of the comics in full about some sheep, which is not in the series we're reading, but it was a separate one. It was like all these sheep have died and only one of the dogs can see it, and he faints from the sight. And I was like, oh, that's really cool. And I kept thinking of, there was this book series in the late 90s, early 2000s called Bunnicula. And I don't know if anyone out there has ever heard of this, but I fucking loved those books. And I think I have this like nostalgia for the comic series because of it.
Sounds familiar.
It's about a cat and a dog who they can talk to each other and their owners can't understand them. Classic animal story, stuff. But their owners buy a rabbit, and it turns out the rabbit is like a vampire that's draining all the vegetables. But it's played like a horror, like it's played straight like a horror novel.
That's crazy.
At some point, they're like, we got to kill this bunny. It's a whole series. It's like, it's for kids. So it's like the antithesis of, it's this theme, but for children, where it's like, we got to kill this rabbit. And at the end, they're like, oh, it's okay. The rabbit's our friend. And this is like the exact opposite direction of, this rabbit's a vampire. We got to fucking kill it.
Yeah. Even though this book is dark and violent, I don't know. Maybe kids could read it if they were mature enough.
Maybe not the second one.
No, not the second one at all.
Yeah. Like this first one, they probably could. It's a little,
yeah.
It's not that morbid.
No.
It gets dark with a giant frog because the giant frog or giant toad ate two of the animals, and he just looks beastly, and he's like, "I'm gonna eat you too."
Yeah, and even like how he talks, like he talks like an old god or something. Like, but he's like still dumb because he's a toad. And he's like, "We," like I have a line here, "We big, fat off flesh of 5 continents. Eat dog, pig, ox, eat people too."
Yeah, it's like the Incredible Hulk, like Hulk smash. You make Hulk mad.
Yeah,
except Hulk didn't say, "Man, woman, crying baby, eat everything." Hulk that, thank God.
Oh God, it's such a.
Although I think the Hulk does.
And
eat
this is when
in the comics.
Oh, I gotta read that Hulk
Maybe
comic.
some.
Yeah.
I love the frog is like it's
Venom
like,
does.
Got the like it looks slimy. It's like dripping like slime from its mouth like drool. It's so creepy and menacing.
And it's probably like maybe 8 feet tall. I feel like, in comparison to what these dogs would be, probably 8 feet
It's
tall.
huge.
So it'd be tall enough to put a human in it. And this is where the comic starts even getting more supernatural. One of the dogs said some words that I'm not even going to bother trying to read.
A Fligo,
And
Capello,
yeah.
Exura.
Yeah.
What he said. Casts a fire spell on the frog. That it's just like where the tongue sticks out and hits the fire and puts the fire out and said, "That's nice," pretty much, and then just smacks the dog and almost kills him or her.
Oh yeah. That's the she's like the wise dog in training, so she's like the one they go to for like, oh, well, like there's this issue in town, like we need to go get like the wise dogs, and she's like, I'm an apprentice, I'm the only one that's available, I'll come help you.
I really love how one of the dogs freaks out, and it's like, we have to save her, and the pug is like, "Are you rabid? We'll just get picked off like flies."
Yeah, I love the pug. The pug is like such an asshole, but he's like, we gotta get the fuck out of here.
I mean, that's how I'd be feeling if I was a dog. Like, no, we're going. Time to go.
Yeah,
We ain't killing this giant toad. Ace is cool. It makes more sense now that you explained that Ace was bit by a werewolf. So it shows why he broke the chain and the power that he has. Because the stupid toad tries to eat him, of course, and he bites the tongue and pulls the tongue. Yeah, and I like the scene where all the dogs jump on and pull the tongue, and I mean it's gross when you think about all these dogs and even the little pug. And
all the dogs are pulling the tongue, and the pug is just standing on top of the tongue, like I'm helping too.
It's badass though. I really like how they all come together to just bite right into it.
Yeah, and then
it shows
the shot of Orphan standing on top of the frog's head.
Yeah,
this is when it gets. And he's like, "This is for Fluffy, you big stinking pile of crap," and he hits him right in the eye with his claw. It's gross. Like they did a good job, and you just see his eye splitting off the dogs.
It's nasty. Like Pugsley gets hit with a bunch of eye matter, eye goo, and then the frog's just like it. I mean, it's like it explodes from inside out. It's so disgusting. It
gets even worse because after what happened, it ends up spitting out all the frogs that it was, and I guess they call it an aggregate demon. I think it is the word. Yeah, an aggregate demon.
Yeah, an aggregate
demon.
Whatever the hell that means. It means it's a demon that I just put on my occult glasses here. It's a demon that like absorbs other life and like mins it into itself. It's aggregating all these different like life forms, all this organic matter.
Okay.
Yeah,
so when they like that's why you get like the really creepy image of all the frogs like that it spurts out are all like malformed or like mended together because they were all like forming into the one giant frog inside of it. So if you get like frogs that have like eyes on like the wrong side of its body, or they're like missing eyes altogether.
It's gross as hell.
I like how the cat is like, "Those little bastards, we should kill them all."
Yeah.
And they're like, "We don't need to worry about that. They're all dying anyway." And this is when they all kind of join. They all like put their little paws in the center, and then they join the circle or something.
Yeah,
I don't really understand.
They all become essentially
wise
they join
dogs?
the society. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
They join the society. They become like the guard dogs for the town.
Aren't they like still in training though? Like some of them,
Yeah,
or something. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great image of all of them being like, they're like, I'm in too. And then one of them's like, "Oh shit, we forgot about our people," and they all run off. And the cat's like, "I feel safer already."
It's really good.
It's legit. It's played so fun and friendly. It's like it's exactly like Buffy the Vampire Slayer. It's played fun. It's played like a nice like kids show, but it's got these insanely dark moments in it.
Mm-hmm. It's played seriously in a sometimes funny context.
Yeah.
Well, nothing funny about the second issue.
No,
Lost.
but
Chapter
no.
2, Lost.
Yes. Let's talk about chapter
This is
2.
the warning. We are warning you. This is very dark. You have been warned.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is a much, much darker issue.
For the defenders of
So
Burden.
I hadn't read any of this. After you had messaged us and said issue 2 is super dark, and I'm like, yeah, how dark can it be? I read the first issue. I'm like, okay, that was dark.
Yeah, I like the message you sent me after that. That was like just like you were right.
Where it went.
We just got like a single message from Mike like in the middle of the day that just said like you were right. It's dark. Like that was it.
I didn't read it after that for a little bit. I'm like, I'm good. We're gonna put this book down and we're not gonna pick it up for a day. We're good.
Mm-hmm. This I do want to add though that the beginning of this second issue, it kind of puts together like a montage, like Ghostbusters style. Like they've been out working on cases and they got like some experience under their belt fending off like these evil beings. Like there's a gnome or a leprechaun or something crazy like carrying away a chicken.
Gremlins?
And they like fight it off, and there's like a dead tree or something. It looks like Swamp Thing almost.
Yeah, I was thinking the same exact thing.
And then it hard cuts from like them solving problems to a collage of like dogs asking them for help, but all their problems are very clearly like dumb dog problems. There's a pit bull that's straight up like like there's this cat that's keeping me up at night. It's probably a witch. You should just kill it.
Yeah.
I like the Chihuahua one. It's like creatures posing as humans abducted and put a little chip in the back of my neck. They use it to spy on me and make me do things like chase cars and fight people and eat my own poop. And they're like, yeah, thanks for telling us. Okay, we'll look into that. It's funny.
We'll get there.
The cat's face is like, I can't believe you eat your own poop.
It's hilarious. I mean, it starts off kind of funny. It starts off cheery. Like I was not expecting where this goes. Like there's a mother dog that shows up and and has a problem, says my children are missing. And I'm like, okay. Then you see that there's a sign of her and the two puppies are missing. She's like, me and my humans just went inside for a little bit, or my people. That's what she calls them. My people.
They always call them my people.
Only a few minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it's just funny to think about.
It's a great it's a great trope too, and like anything like that where it's like, oh, I've got like all these dumb cases. It's used in so many superhero stories and so many comic books of like oh, I've got like all these non-problems I got to deal with. So like the mom comes in, my kids are missing, and it's like, oh, we got to like this is a real case. We got to get on this.
Mm-hmm. I really like the image of the cats on the roof here. It's just beautiful the way they draw them.
Oh
like
yeah. Some of the imagery in this comic is like downright beautiful. I really want like posters of just some of these panels.
Oh yeah, that'd be awesome.
I guess because it's watercolor, they can do like just really nice, like really vivid lights and really like really contrasting shadows. It looks fantastic.
It does. I agree.
And I like how as they're investigating, they end up running into a raccoon, which they're trying to figure out what happened to these puppies. And the mother raccoon ends up telling them, go to a place called the Devil's Well. And you can look for your pups there, which is supposed to be a place where like the dead are, I guess, but you don't really know what's happening yet.
Yeah.
So
well, yeah, like they all like some of them look the Rottweiler and the cat just look confused, and the mom like it's a dog, but like the dog face is like so serious and like worried.
Yeah, they go to this place. Sorry, go ahead, Mike.
Okay, I just want to read the pug's line. You can say the rest. So when the pug gets there, his line, Devil's Well, huh? Devil's ass is more like it. This place sucks. All right, yeah. Describe it. I just had to read that.
That's basically what I was going to say.
Yeah, we all wanted I had it queued up, too. We all wanted to say the pug's lines. Pugsley is great. He's a great little character because he's just a little asshole. He's a pug. He's exactly how you want a pug to act.
Well, the next little line, the funny line is like, there's like, anything? Did you find anything? He's like, well, I scared some squirrels and a fat old raccoon, but no sign of them.
I love like in between this, the Eagle's like, I hear people won't even come here anymore. I was like, I don't blame him. My grandpa used to tell stories about the whale that would curl your tail, which is like it's a good line, because when you dig deeper into it, realize, oh no, they're dogs. They have a lifespan of like 9 years. His grandpa this has been going on for a while, but they're dogs. So like in their terms, it's been going on for decades, generations. I love that everything is still done through the viewpoint of a dog.
Mm-hmm. Really cool. And then this is when they do a summoning circle. They draw a pentagram in the grass and they all get in it and they do a summoning to see. They're gonna see if the puppies have died. They're gonna summon the dead.
Because it's like a little pond.
They know the puppies are okay.
There's a great line in the middle of that where Ace is talking to the mom dog and is like, I'm sorry to ask this, but your pups, could they swim? I mean, if they had to. And it's just a close up of her, like the reflection of the dog's face in the pond with her just saying no. It's so dour.
Yeah, it just breaks the heart. It really does.
And then like from here on out, like they decided to do the summoning circle because there's a great panel of her off in the distance looking into the pond, like transfixed by it, and just like her eyes are like sunken in, and like you just see like the light reflecting in her pupils. It's so dour. It's like dark.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it gets so much darker. Like when they do the actual summoning, and then the first thing you see are two puppies, puppy ghosts come spiraling out of the water and flying around, and then she's like, oh god, my babies. And that's when it hits you like they're dead.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it goes from 0 to 100 real quick because they like fly into and possess the it's not a beagle, it's a Jack Russell Terrier actually. But a little backstory too, the Jack Russell Terrier is like, I don't think this is explained for a while. I can't remember, but the Jack Russell Terrier is kind of like a medium, so they fly into him.
That's not explained in this.
No, yeah, it comes up like later in the series where like this stuff repeatedly happens to him, and at some point one of the wise dogs is like, "Oh, you may be a medium."
That's the one that says, "I give you permission to enter the circle we made to summon you."
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, he's like, I like that they all have their own little like traits to them. Like Ace is like the vanguard. He's gonna go out there and like do the action. Rex is like the tracker. And you have the Jack Russell who's like the medium who kind of understands more of the mysticism behind it.
Mm-hmm. The pug is like the comic relief.
Yeah, he's the comic relief who like is fully aware of the situation at all times. Where he's like making jokes, but he's like, yeah, this is fucked up. Like we got to realize that this is a messed up situation we're in.
Yeah.
It gets worse. Like the part when all the freaking, and then all these ghosts come out of all these dead cats and dogs spiraling out, and they're angry, and it even has lines here. They're trying to, and they're like, "Don't leave the circle." And I think someone leaves the circle or something, and they possess 3 of the more vicious, what would we consider vicious dogs: the Ace, the werewolf dog, and Doberman, the big dogs.
Yeah. Oh god. Like even the lines leading up to that, like them leading up to the ghosts of like. They're like, the others, and like, well, there's what others? The ones before us, they're scared, they're angry, and they just all fly out of the water. Oh god.
Yeah.
All their eyes turn blood red, and they all run off.
Then they possess these 3 dogs, and then you see the dogs go running off, and it doesn't really say what's happening, and then the other ghosts are just flying around.
Well, they do mention, they say, we want blood. And it's basically them seeking revenge on the person who drowned them, which they run through the neighborhood and crash through a window. And all you see is this kid on his bed eating pizza, playing Wii.
Yeah.
Playing Wii Sports.
Yeah, Wii Sports.
kind of slobby kid. But it's great because they just run off saying we want blood. And they're like, oh my God, like all the dogs left behind, including, I love Pugsley. He's like, what the fuck? Call the wise dogs. We screwed up. Oh my God. Will the circle hold? And they're like, it better.
And that scene when they rush into his house and they just maul this guy. You don't know why exactly, right? Why they mauled him, and they break open this cabinet, and then you hear the person it shows in the panels goes, David, what's going on down there? David, open the door. And David is dead. He's in this room that was locked, where you see all these pictures of lost dogs, lost cats, and skulls, and you find out that Asher was killing everybody.
Yeah,
he was a murderer.
A young serial killer in the making. The what's creepy about that is like I've seen that image so many times. I think in this past read through was the first time I like really analyzed the frame, and I noticed that there was in the bottom left corner of that panel, there's like a bunch of gear he uses, like syringes and a knife. And I was like, I've never noticed those little details before. And there's like a trophy that's filled with old collars. I'm like, man, fuck, there's so much detail in that one frame.
He probably tortures them too. It's like it throws everything in there to make you think, what the hell was this guy doing to all these dogs?
Yeah, it's dark.
And the dogs run away, and they're all covered in blood because they just murdered somebody. And then you have the other dogs and they're all like,
their eyes are freaked out too, like they're not possessed anymore. So they just look so freaked out at what just happened.
Because they know what they did.
Yeah.
I do love the scene when all the ghosts that had flown away in the woods, they come back inhabiting squirrels, possum, rabbits, raccoon, and they're all about to murder the few that are left in the circle.
Yeah.
Like that was cool.
Yeah, and then you get the nice image of like the mom coming back and being a mom and being like, oh, don't worry, like you've been avenged. There's no more need for blood. It's just fucking. She's like, oh, like I'll take care of you. Come with me. Oh, she says, I'll keep you safe and warm, and I'll sing to you in the dark, so you'll never be afraid again. And dives into the well, and it's like, damn, what the fuck?
Yep, commits suicide.
Yeah, Ace like tries to jump in after her and like can't find her. She's just gone. Everything's like all the ghosts flying after her, and it's just completely still. It's like, oh god, I didn't want to cry.
I like the scene where they're all washing themselves off in the clear to cover. Because I mean, it makes sense. They're like, we gotta hide what just happened.
Yeah, they all
and
go home
then
to,
it shows
to debrief.
And they're all like in one line, like, despite their fears, no one ever came for Rex and Ace. Because no one put two and two together what happened.
Yeah, they never knew is like the creepiest part about it. There's like there's even a line that says like they would never know exactly what happened or why. It's like, damn, like
yeah. And then the last panel of the book, it actually shows all the corpses in the lake, and there's boxes with holes in it, strapped shut, there's cages, bottles, everything. There's a weight. There's a dog tied to a weight, tied to a rope that he just threw in there with the dog.
Yeah, there's a cage like that's filled with kittens. It's like one of those. It's so dark. It's so brutal, but it's also got like a weird beauty to it because they come back like every now and then. They put petals in the water, and so it's like this really dark image leading up to the lake as we from below, and you see like the petals sinking down to the bottom. It's like, oh god. It's so emotional.
Yeah,
it was really good. It's dark, and it made me question why we were reading this book. But other than that,
I read that one and I was like, I forgot to check to see which stories we're reading exactly because I couldn't remember which issues they were. I was like, ooh,
I remember too.
Warned Mike about this.
I remember too when he picked this too. I was like, "Oh, this looks fun! Little dogs on an adventure, awesome!"
I remember I started reading it because I was like, I started reading the series because it has that great cover of all. Like every cover is it's a different animal and like some it's a standard comic book cover, but the logo is like beasts of burden with a dog skull and bones underneath it for inside the bee. I was like, this looks fun. Why is the logo so cultish and dark? And I remember reading it and being like, oh, okay. We're going into it.
Yeah.
The third issue is weird as hell too.
Yeah, the third one's
it's fucked up.
I like the third one a lot because I like the second one's definitely my favorite, but I like the third one a lot because it's like a little bit later. They know what they're doing more. It starts with like the cat and they're rubbing like oil all over him and like preparing him for something.
Well, isn't he going there? Look, one of the cats is missing and want to go try to find him. The last time I think she was seen was going into the sewer. So they're getting him ready as Stephen King style to go into the sewer to chase down and find this missing cat. That's all I can think of was Stephen King's it.
Right.
Well, I mean, this is also this is another one that was like it's like a sequel to one of the presentation issues, but I like that you don't really need to read it because you get all the information right up front. Like are you sure you want to do this? There's
this cat it tells you about the getaway kid, which is another cat that's known for escaping that decides to go into the sewer with this. Is that Fluffy? Is it? No, Fluffy's dead.
Fluffy's long dead. Orphan's going in with getaway cat to find this witch cat that attacked them and ran off into the sewers. And Orphan's like, I know she's down there. I feel it.
I like how the cat says, I always wondered what was down here. And the other one's like, surprise, it's a bunch of shit.
Yeah. I love that the cats are all like I like to think that all the cats they still have owners, but they all pretend like they're street cats. One of the cats is like, why are you going down there? All because some dame? You're crazy. It's like, you probably have somebody that feeds you every day.
Yeah.
It's
gross when they show the roaches.
They do a good job of it. Oh, the cockroaches were disgusting, but it makes sense. It is a sewer.
Yeah. Oh god, yeah. And like the oil they put on the orphan's chest is like lit up, so you have this great disparity between Orphan and the getaway kid of like a black cat in the sewer and this bright orange tabby that's just lighting the way.
And it doesn't get dark right away. Like at first it's kind of normal. They're just climbing through the sewers, not much is happening. They run into a few rats. And
I would say this one doesn't
it's
really
when the rats yell. It gets strange though. Like when they first run into the rats were like, spies!
Oh yeah.
But
I love that.
It didn't really hit me yet.
I love the rats. They're just like so skeezy.
Yeah, just like an army of rats is chasing after him out of every hole in the sewer, and they're like, every cat for himself.
Yeah, kid is like, screw you, I'm out of here.
Yeah,
it reminds me like a Turtles issue or something of when they're getting chased by the mousers, because they're just this army of rats. I mean, and to a cat, rats are not small.
Yeah,
I like it.
It's cool.
Yeah, it's great. Or getaway kid just runs off and Orphan falls down into a pit that's like filled with sewage water and skeletons.
Yeah. Oh god, the imagery here is just awesome.
Oh god, yeah, the cat falling down like it's great too because Orphan's like, okay, you've done this 1,000 times. Roll your leg. All right, you know how to land a fall. It just crashes into the water.
That was really cool the way they described that too.
Damn, this is a long. That big ass rat comes out. He's like, "Oh God, please tell me you're a skinny muskrat."
That was cool. And the rat's about to kill him. That's when he meets the witch when he's down there. The one that he was sent here to look for. He wanted to come down here to find.
The witch cat.
It's about how she got lured here by undead mongrels or something. She lured undead mongrels to their destruction and then got stuck down here.
Yeah, so she summoned a bunch of zombie dogs to kind of do her bidding before, and that's like the other dogs were trying to stop her, and she led them in front of a truck, and they thought that she had died. So there's a very comic book thing, very comic booky scene where they're like, "Oh no, she's dead." It's like, "Oh, that's what you thought happened."
Okay, so that's why. Okay, that's cool. That's from a different book, and then she got bit or something, and then the rat
tail got chewed off.
The rat. Yeah, they chew off her tail to stop the infection because she wouldn't turn into a zombie.
Yeah, I love that. Like, God, like the way that rats are drawn, it's so creepy to me because like the rats are never drawn individually; they're always drawn as like a giant clump of rats or like a cluster.
Like a pile.
Like, yeah, it's always like a giant pile of rats, and then like the big rat that's like the general or quote unquote is like he always like splits the entire pile to lead them somewhere.
I like how it sticks to the pattern though that they need specific things to cast spells. So the witch cat kind of brings up, I need charms, herbs, and like various elements, but there's none of that down here. Yeah, that's why I got stuck down here, and I can't kill the rats.
That's why I think I love this like this world so much, is it has a very specific rule set that they always abide by. There's never like oh, I can do this without doing this now because like I'm better. It's never that kind of like story. It's always like, okay, you need this. So if you're in the sewer and you don't have like aloe vera, then obviously you can't perform these spells. It's a very strict system, but the world feels like the world feels like it could not could exist, but it feels like it's real. It feels like there's a rule set that makes sense and works.
Yeah, and it's definitely interesting just to read too, because they get into situations where they have to figure a way out that they can't just easily conjure up spells.
Yeah, it's almost like a magic. It's like Constantine. It's like a magic detective story.
Exactly.
Oh god, I love that the big rats like, we're gonna take you to the king, and I like every time I read this I always forget. I think it's gonna be like a leader rat. I forget that it's actually a rat king, which is a real thing that has like kind of terrified me to my core since I learned about them. If you don't know what a rat king is, I'll save you a terrifying Google trip. A rat king it's a real thing that occasionally happens, and it's like kind of based on myth, but there have been instances where a bunch of rats will get their tails tangled up together in knots and they can't escape. And so a rat king is like specifically, I think it's like 8 or more rats in that scenario, and it's kind of seen as like in the occult, it's seen as like a very special thing, a very powerful thing.
It's disgusting.
It's nasty. It's something that I've always been afraid of. Even though, like, realistically, like, a rat king could do nothing to me because it's just a rat with a bunch of other rats that are all trying to run in different directions. Like, it's in no way is it a threat.
And you're a human.
It's just wrong. Like, it just looks wrong.
Yeah. I agree. Yeah, this when they
dark.
When they go to the Rat King here, the thing is that two of the cats entered down here to go look for this witch cat. So they captured one of them, and they're literally just holding it down by putting a bunch of rats on it.
Yeah.
And they thought that the witch cat brought these cats here to like stop them in their quest for like eternal night. So they just eat it.
Yeah, they start like going to town on Getaway Cat. Like,
yeah, they're about to eat them.
Yeah, it's worrying because you know that they have no qualms about just killing off random animals in this series. Yeah. So they're like you came here to spy on us. Eat the friend, and all the rats just start jumping down on it. You're like, oh shit, not Getaway Kid. I liked him.
Yeah.
And then we were talking about earlier. The witch cat uses the tonic that they put, or whatever the hell they put on the orange tabby, to cast a fire spell or some kind of spell that lights up everything, and then they run like hell.
Yeah, she realizes that he's got like luminescence on his chest, and she licks it off and spits it. Because her whole power set is like she can't create, but she can amplify effects.
Mm-hmm. So I think she uses light, is what it is.
Yeah, she amplifies the luminescence to like make it like a flashbang.
It's pretty damn cool.
Yeah, the giant rat's like, are you rats or mice? Fall in, you idiots.
Oh, God, that was great. I forgot about that. That was fun. That was cool. I mean, and then, like, I like the scene where they see the ladder and they're running, but then the giant rat comes up and just fucks up the orange tabby. And then you have the cat fighting the rat, jumping on it, biting it, scratching it. You have another fire spell. And it actually, like, burns the hell out of the giant rat. Like,
it burns his eye off.
Yeah, and they actually do a good job drawing, looking at a burned face as he's screaming at the cats as the cats are trying to climb up this ladder and get out, and you have all these rats trying to stop them getting out of the sewer, and it's a really cool looking scene.
It's downright visceral.
The equivalent to this would be like if two survivors were climbing up a ladder and there was a like sewer full of zombies, like all trying to get at them.
Can you tell Stefan's been thinking about nothing but Resident Evil for the past couple days?
Yeah,
soon.
At the time when this is published, he's already played it and platinumed it already.
Yeah,
this won't be out for a little while.
Hopefully,
the time of this record.
I don't know. That platinum looks hard. Anyway,
there's gonna be a timed platinum trophy. A time trophy for it.
Oh yeah, I think it's already been revealed. It's like 2 hours. I'm like, oh no.
It's doable.
Speaking, I like the way it ends. Like, it has the two cats escape, and they're like, "What happened to Getaway Kid?" And it shows the Getaway Kid somewhere higher, like he made it out.
Yeah, up on the rooftop. Getaway Kid always gets away.
Mm-hmm.
He's covered. Cool. I like that he's still like covered in blood too. He's just like sweet.
Sweet.
We made it. It's a great little ending for that. It's a happy ending too, which is nice.
Mm-hmm.
It was a good book.
I mean, the rats are still down there, but happy for our heroes.
Yeah.
4 is my least favorite of the 4 issues. Grave happenings.
I want to say it's the weirdest in just
the weirdest
setting up like it's bad guy.
Yeah. This is there was not a sequel to this one, so this one's its own story, and it's definitely the oddest. But like once you figure out that they have a crossover with Hellboy, it kind of makes more sense.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's a very Hellboy story.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really care for it. Is this dog? Because first they're in the woods and they run into a dog that they know. Is he from a different story? And he's all like his face is all pale and white, and he's not supposed to be?
I don't think so. It's just a dog that like it's like
okay.
It's just like a dog that they know of and is kind of like a legend within their like dog community. It's Digger. They're like everybody knows Digger. He's like kind of older dog, kind of famous. Not really famous, but kind of like, you know, he's one of those like community icons.
Mm-hmm.
I like that they're just doing their patrol too. Like it's a great little setup where they're like we're in the society now. We gotta do our nighttime patrols and make sure nothing's going on in town.
Yeah, and the pug is like, I don't trust that witch cat. Like nobody trusts that witch cat. He's like, even Melinda, or what's her name, Miranda, he's like, not even she likes it. And the other dogs are like, oh, come on, Pugsley. And he's like, go hump yourself.
Yeah. I love like as they're making so much fucking noise too in the woods. Like if this was a movie, you'd be like, shut up, like something's going to attack you. I love that like Digger just like walks out of the woods looking like completely freaked out, and they're like, who the hell is that? Oh my god, it's Digger. Oh my god. It's like he's got that stark white face that looks like a skull. It's like just the hair on his face has gone white. It's that classic thing in like horror movies where somebody sees a ghost and their hair and their head turns white. It's just his face and it has like a skull look to it. It's like ethereal.
Yeah,
it's really cool.
It kind of works in the case of dogs too, how they start turning white in the face and on their back. Yeah.
And he's got he's got a leash attached to him, and they look down, they see a human hand. Still, it's like the leash is still wrapped around it. And they're like, uh-oh.
Yeah.
What happened?
We better put the call out.
It gets, and this is when he talks about what happened where him and human were walking by a cemetery, and then he heard something, he gets pulled in, and he watched his human get ripped apart by the dirt, and then he yanked out and pulled out an arm.
Yeah. Well, I like that, like, first he's in shock and they got to get him out of it. Like, like he can't, like, he doesn't even, like, register that they're there. He can't talk. He's not staring at them. He's, like, at the 1,000-yard stare while they're all in a circle around him.
It's cool. And they go to a cemetery, and then they find blood and intestines spewed across of this person that was killed across the cemetery, and they follow the trail, and they get to a really weird-ass scene that they're like, I think we found what killed the man, and it's a bunch of, dirt golem-looking things with skulls for heads playing with blood and guts.
Yeah, it's a golem. It's a bunch of golems, and they're like putting the guts, like, into a fresh grave.
So, is this guy who gets out of the grave, does anyone know if he's like from Hellboy or something? Because he's like pure rock and roll guy.
I think the name on the gravestone is Carl Friedrich. It's like Vandenberg or Hindenburg or something. I'll look it up right now.
Carl Friedrich Vanderberg.
I don't think it's a character. He's a character in anything.
Yeah, he's basically a devil worshiper he thinks he's coming back to serve Satan, and he's getting out of the grave with a bottle of whiskey. Like, hey, here we go.
You know who he is? He's Chucky before he was in the doll.
He's Charles Lee Ray.
Yeah.
The Lakeshore Strangler.
Yeah, that's like almost exactly who his character is. Oh no, but like that's his character. He's like, he's like wearing all black, and he's got like it's great. I love his outfit. He's wearing like black pants, like a white dress shirt with a tie, and like a leather jacket with like a Slayer patch on it, and
skull rings.
He's got like this necklace swinging around and all this occult books and a bottle of Jack Daniels. Like he looks like the best Ozzy Osbourne cosplayer ever.
And he does like a spell where he makes one of the dogs spit up a bunch of blood. He's like, oh, I was going for innards. Gonna have to work on that because the dogs are trying to figure out what he's doing. So he's starting to...
Yeah, the book itself, like, while it doesn't have an actual face like the Necronomicon, it does have stitches like it is flesh.
I was just gonna bring that up. Yeah, it's a little book that like just you see like the tiniest details on it. It's got those little stitches and a nice little icon.
I didn't catch that.
Yeah,
you're probably right.
Yeah, so like they're just like, oh, it's a warlock. We gotta take him out.
And I like how as they're fighting him and they're getting shot by dirt from the golems, H just jumps up and bites the shit out of him. Like, I bit out his heart. Problems solved.
Yeah, just rips his chest out, and they're like, "Oh, well, that's that takes care of that."
He just starts crawling to the grave. He's like, "I didn't even get to crack my bottle." Bunch of goddamn dogs.
And then all the golems start like tossing themselves in the grave with him, and they're like, "Uh-oh!" Like, I love the line. All the golems toss themselves in the grave, and like the last one falls in, and like the cap falls off the skull, like almost comically. And the cat's just like, "Huh, that was like really weird." Anyway, are you okay, Miranda?
We'll worry about it later.
And then he bursts out like the guy inside with the golems, like he's like a big giant dirt monster now, and it's just weird as hell. I didn't like this part at all.
If
I appreciate
anyone wants to know what this looks like, if they played the Ghostbusters video game, it looks like one of those grave monsters that comes out with the little light on it. Yeah,
it's exactly.
And if you want to hear more about Ghostbusters, tune back to an earlier episode.
Hey.
I like that he's like sealed in the golem, and he's got like the skulls around him, and like when he pops up, like Pugsley just goes flying.
Yeah,
it reminded me of a reference you guys might not get in the Hercules TV show when it had the first couple TV movies. There's a monster he fights in one of the TV movies that looks just like this thing. The second one when he's going to get the fire. Somebody gets that reference out there. Somebody does.
Alternatively, it looks like some of the golems in the Dragon Age series, the dirt golems. So basically, it's a golem. It's a regular golem. If you've seen a golem, you've seen this monster. It's a bunch of dirt in the shape of like
word golem. You're looking for
golem.
When you say golem, I think of precious. When you say golem, I think of a rock monster.
It's a golem then. And well, when it's dirt, it's a golem. I've just decided.
All right.
I am the authority on the matter, so.
This was your pick, so I should be nice.
I don't actually know. I think you're right. I think it is golem, but it's a dirt golem with like him like sealed into it, and he just starts fucking up the dogs. Like like he's punching them, he's whipping them across this graveyard. He's picking up tombstones and like grave markers and using them as like blunt force weapons. It's violent.
I like how they say it's no good. It's like trying to claw through cement. There's gotta be a weak spot.
The entire time Dipna's like sitting on one of the tombstones in the background just watching.
Yeah.
Is another thing that you like brought up. I like with the world's rules and everything. Like Dipna can't kill it on her own, but she can use the Miranda spell and amplify that and like use her ability to make her magic work. It's great.
Right, like what we learned in the last issue where she amplified the light in the sewers. Yeah, so it's great.
Yeah, it's a little like the solution to the problem is like Rex is down there like distracting the golem, and like the cat jumps on and Ace jumps in to freak him out. Like there's a part where like they're scratching at his legs, and he's just picked up Rex like by the tail, and Rex is freaking the fuck out.
Oh yeah.
And a great panel of Miranda with like the flaming eyes and like all of her fur is like suddenly standing up.
Mm-hmm.
It looks badass, and then they just light this fucker up and just burn him to a crisp, and it does look cool when it shows the scene of everything burning.
Oh yeah, just the dirt burning away, and it's just him in the center.
Mm-hmm.
I love that the skulls have little smoke plumes coming out of them.
And then when the last line is like, we may have won the fight, but the war has just begun. But what's weird about that is this is the last issue for about a year. Like they don't come back to this book. Like this ends up this little 4-issue part, and then you don't have another issue till almost a year later.
Yeah, which
is the Hellboy one.
Yeah, which is the Hellboy one. Like the Hellboy one, I think was I don't know if that was the next one they did, but it was like thrown in there somewhere, and then they go back and they do like 4 more stories. But I kind of have a soft spot in my heart for like series and stories like that start and don't really get a I don't know. I don't want to say like they never really take off, but I don't think this really hasn't taken off quite like I think it deserves to.
It probably got canceled. Like it was maybe.
No, they're still. They made a couple as of May and June of last year.
Yeah, what's the writer's name again? York or Cork?
Evan Dorkin.
Evan Dorkin. He's quoted as saying that he's already finished writing like a bunch of stories. He's waiting for Jill Thompson to get on board because she's super busy.
Yeah,
which otherwise they'd be done.
It's nice though. Like I said, I've got a soft spot for those stories where like this guy, like he has this world in his head. He knows exactly what the story is, and it's just it's struggling to get along, but it's got an audience, including me. It's got like a nice little following, and it's a nice little story. It's got
me now too. I wouldn't mind reading more of this.
I ended up reading a bunch of them because I reread these 4, and I was like, I can't stop. I love this series so much. It's so creative and fun. I love it.
Yeah, it was really cool. Oh, we should go to Shelfer Box. Any last things things you want to say about this before we go to Shelf or Box? Or we just cover it there?
Just to bring up the art style again, it's just that the watercolor is... I wish I was good at watercolor art. I have tried. I'm good at other kinds of art. I don't even say good. I'm serviceable at other kinds of art. I can paint, but I can't do watercolor to save my life. I wish I could, because I love this art style. I love how like everything has that, like that children's book feel to it.
Yeah, I think if people take watercolor for granted. Like they think it's, that's something you did in elementary school. It's like, yeah, but to do it well, I mean, you have to be a really good artist. Yeah.
And it's a lot of like pre-planning. Like people are like, oh, you just paint on there. Like, no, watercolor takes a shitload of like knowing exactly what you're going to do, sketching it out ahead of time. Like it's not an easy art form.
I don't inking over it on top of what you've already, it's not even like all together. It's just splatters almost. It just works if you know how to do it.
And it's hard to, it takes a long time because it's like you can't really erase watercolor like you can some other paints.
Mm-hmm.
You can like get it wet again and kind of blend it out, but like to be able to do it this well is really impressive to me. Just the amount of like the way that she shades everything, the way Jill Thompson shades like the first panel in this series is like the White House and it's got the blue shading on it. It looks so like idyllic. I love it.
Yeah. These covers too are just amazing. Like I'm gonna track down one of these covers and just put it on my wall. It's so good.
They remind me of the covers for like the Hardy Boys books.
It kind of is like that, yeah.
Like it'd be like an old like Johnny Quest cereal or something. They're really pretty. They're just really, really, really pretty.
I agree.
I think I'm definitely gonna be, if you find any of those, like if you find like prints or something, definitely send them to me, because I kind of want to get like 4 big prints like above my bed for these cover pages.
Yeah,
I'm not even kidding. Like I'll get
I know you're not.
Prints. They'll take up the wall.
All right, let's go on to Shelf or Box, and I'll go first because I can. And I wasn't sure what to think about this when Stu had first mentioned this. He had mentioned this over months ago from even the time of this recording, and I was like, okay. And then finally we actually looked it up. I was able to find something of it to read, and I was surprised. It was dark as hell. It freaked me out. I don't want to read again, but I really enjoyed it. Like I actually reread the first 3 issues twice. I didn't finish the 4th. I didn't give a shit. But I went through and read it today before we did this recording, and I really enjoyed it. Like it was a really cool story, and it wasn't something I expected. At first, I was like, oh, you should read this. And I'm like, after I read issue 2, I'm like, no, you shouldn't read this. Don't read this. But she loves animals, and I'm like, you're not gonna like the second book. It's no, it's dark.
I love recommending this to people and then immediately retracting my recommendation from them.
I recommend 1, 3, and 4 just fine. I mean, 1, 3, and 4. All 4 are good, but 1, 3, and 4 are not tough to read. 2 is tough to read.
They're more fun.
Yeah, 1's not. 2's not. But it's going on the shelf. I'm so glad we got to read it. I'm also glad we got to do this because one thing we like doing is weird ass comics from time to time to go along with episodes, and this is one of the weird ass comics that I bet you never heard of before. So I'm happy I read it. Going on the shelf. How about you, Stefan?
Yeah, I just like echoing Mike. I had no idea going into this, and then even just looking at the covers, I'm like, dogs, happy stuff. Like I don't know what this is, but I was ready to read it. One of the aspects of this is like, again, it just reminds me of Ghostbusters, where it has the sense of humor, the paranormal, there's investigating, but there's also like dark moments, like the dog dying in this with her mother and her babies is just as relevant to me as like Dana Barrett getting possessed by the Gozer dog in Ghostbusters. You know, that whole scene. It's just dark, but it's still got that lighthearted moments, and like the actual characters all feel like they are characters within themselves. They feel different, especially the pug, who I loved.
Named Pugsley, by the way.
Yeah, and I don't know, man. It just blew me away. But I'm gonna put it on the shelf. Probably gonna track down a cover of one of them and keep it close. It's beautiful art, and yeah, I liked it.
Okay, how about you, Stu?
I just want to say this was like the best case scenario for this episode, because I was like, I knew Stefan would like this series. I had a feeling that like you'd think it was weird at first. Yeah. It's like I said, it's a smaller series, and it's just one that I like randomly came across and fell in love with immediately. And I was like, I always want to recommend it to people, but I always always struggle to be like, oh, you should check this out. It's really dark, but it has like that disparity of it looks like it would be fun. It looks like it's a great kid story, but it's not.
Yeah, I didn't know kid story.
It's got like, I don't know, it's got everything I love in it, which is it's just like for me to recommend something on a comic episode, like I always have to give the disclaimer. I'm like, I don't know comics very much. I know very little about them. One of my professors was like one of my art professors was like, he does like all these really nice comic panels and everything. He sells a ton of comics, so he's like trying to teach me, and I'm trying to learn from him. I'm trying to get into comics, but like I always feel bad coming on the show and being like, oh yeah, like I like the Iron Man movies. I don't know anything about the MC or like the Marvel the comic series. I know Superman dies and then comes back and then like dies 5 more times. That's about all I know.
Yeah,
I was like, so happy to be able to like bring a comic to people's attention, especially one that's kind of smaller that I have such a love for. It's just everything about it is perfect to me. The disparity between like the dark occult shit and like the fun jokey nature of the dogs, like Stefan said, it's just like Ghostbusters. I almost said Jokebusters. Just like Ghostbusters. The art style
call Jokebusters.
Joke. I love the art style. It's absolutely beautiful to me. It's like one of my favorite. I think it's like some of my favorite art in comics in general. It's so good. So yeah, it's absolutely going high up on my shelf. I want a million more people to read this, and I don't know, maybe someday get like a cool Netflix series out of it, maybe. But Jill Thompson,
would be
like,
awesome.
Fucking retire so we can get more of this, please. Don't retire because you do good work. But please fucking retire. Jill Thompson, clear up your schedule. I need this.
This is 100% could go on Netflix. I agree with that 100%.
There's a series on Netflix. Oh god, it's called like the Kirlian frequency. That's like an animated version of kind of like Welcome to Night Vale, but it's a little bit more dark, and it's from Latin America, so it has like that nice like Latin American occult twist on it, which is just really cool.
Yeah,
and I would love to see this series done in like that kind of style. There's like nice anthology stories about these dogs, you know, fighting demons and occult crime.
Yeah, that would be awesome. I also want to add too that the Wikipedia, I don't know whether this is true or not because it's Wikipedia, but it did say at one point people were attached to make a movie to this in like 2013. So
yeah.
It was sold as a property somewhere, and someone can make a movie out of it.
Yeah, somebody somewhere has the rights for this, and you know they better fucking do it. I need it. It'll be my favorite movie of all time. Yeah, I think the guy who was attached to it for a while was Shane Aker, who did 9, which is a movie that I think a lot of like was kind of divisive, but I really like that movie too. The one that looks like Little Big Planet, but way darker.
Oh, and then wasn't Tim Burton attached to it in some way?
Yeah, and then Tim Burton got the hell out of there, and it's probably a better movie because of that, because Tim Burton's back now. It was like a student film that they ended up making like into a feature-length movie. It was like a short film that was, I want to say it was like 10 minutes or something at first. And they were like, well, let's make this into like an hour and a half movie. And I really like that, and I think its style fits perfectly with this series. I don't know. It's a weird thing because I'm like, oh, Netflix make it, but it's got a small audience. But then like Netflix also tends to cater to smaller audiences. So I don't know. My hope isn't dead yet. I'm hoping that somebody somewhere will see this and be like, let's make this a show.
I agree.
And let's get some crazy voice actors to voice that dog.
Let's just get like Christopher Walken. Like
is Christopher Walken voicing Pugsley?
Yeah.
I want like Christopher Walken to voice Pugsley. I want like, oh god, who was the mom in Kubo and the Two Strings? I want her to voice Miranda.
I haven't seen that one.
You haven't seen Kubo and the Two Strings? Oh man, it's a crazy impressive movie.
Yeah, I heard it's Heard it's pretty good, the animation.
Charlize Theron. Get Charlize Theron to voice Miranda. Because you hear all the voices of the dogs so clearly in your head. They all have such like specific attitudes too.
Yeah. I feel like it would lean like popular though. Like one of them would have to be like a Chris Hemsworth or something.
Oh yeah. But you know what? Like fuck it, make it Chris. I think Chris Hemsworth make Chris Hemsworth Pugsley actually. No, because he's like a really, really funny actor, and people have only started realizing that since like Thor Ragnarok.
Yeah, he might be Ace just cause.
Yeah, Ace or like Rex. Like yeah, give him Rex, because then he can be like he could come across as like the strong dog, but then just play the baby. I have such a soft spot for like all dogs in general, but especially Rottweilers too. Like I love Rex so much.
Yeah, it's a good book.
All right, I think we should wrap up this episode now.
Yeah. So if you know somebody out there that likes occult shit, tell them to read Beast of Burden, please.
Yeah. It's in a couple collected formats, so you can legally get a hold of it. Otherwise, Google is your friend. But it's worth reading. I actually might go, if I can find the first appearance, I will buy it. I'm gonna when conventions open up again in a far off land in the year 2022, I will try to find them.
I have a copy somewhere, but I think it's in a different state right now.
I love first appearances, so I might have to. I'm gonna try track down their first appearance of Beast of Burden.
They have a nice little anthology book too.
Cool.
I just want to read it. I don't care what edition I get. Just give me an edition of it.
So we're gonna wrap up this first one. Thank everyone for listening. Thank you guys for joining us. Definitely go track down this book. You won't regret it. Also, want to say
you might regret it.
Give a quick awesome shout out to our awesome intro. All of a sudden I draw a blank. Cool Kid Squad from his. I can't remember it.
Bulby, aka Stoney.
Check out our awesome intro from Bite the Bullet off of his EP Cool Kids. No, I got that backwards. Cool Kid Squad off of his EP Bite the Bullet from Bulby, aka Mike Stoney.
I've said it over 100 times at the pretty close to over 100 times at this point, and I could not all of a sudden. I'm like, it's in there. I know it's in there. Where are you?
There's definitely been situations where you've said it backwards before, and it's just like it's so like muddled in my head now. Like, I knew it so well, and then I think you said it backwards once by mistake, and like it's just ruined my head. I can't. Something's wrong with my brain.
That at least helped me get the name Carol Baskin out of my head a little bit.
Oh, there you go.
Hopefully, by the time of this recording, people don't know what we're talking about, and she's not. Yeah, but who knows at this point? Because it might still be going on.
We'll find out.
Find out
next episode. Games My Mom Found Copy Foot. Copy comic book episode.
Something like that. All right, we'll see you guys all. Listen to our episode. See you later. Bye, everybody.